Hi, friends. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Hello APGD, a neighborhood podcast about the Audubon Park Garden District in Orlando, Florida. I'm your host, Michael Lothrop, and today we'll be speaking with Sara Taylor, owner of Pinkie Orlando, an art-focused, inclusive beauty studio. Located at 1844 Winter Park Drive, you can also find them online at pinkieorlando.com or on Instagram or Facebook at Pinkie Orlando. If you'd like to be a guest on the show, or if you'd like to be a sponsor, please feel free to message me on Instagram at HelloAPGDPod. Thank you for listening. This episode is brought to you in part by Trevor Brown, Audubon Park resident and trusted Central Florida realtor with Fannie Hillman and Associates, proudly serving their clients for over 40 years. For listings, market trends, helpful home buyer and seller tips, email directly to Trevor at fanniehillman.com or find him on Instagram at Trevor Brown Realtor. And with me today is Sara Taylor, owner of Pinkie Orlando. Sara, welcome.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
I'm so excited to have you here. So you are right next to Stardust, and I understand it was a bike shop previous to it being a salon, and it was microblading only for a while.
Yes. In 2019 is when Pinkie started, and that was in College Park.
And so welcome to Audubon Park.
Thank you. I'm very happy to be here.
We're so happy to have you there. And so the transition to Audubon Park happened
last year.
So that was fortuitous for that space to be available, and it was kind of already serving that purpose too,
Yeah.
right?
The previous owner was a friend of mine, and her life situation changed, and they were moving out of the state, and I was looking for a new location for Pinkie, so it was all just perfectly timed to work for us.
That's amazing. And it was quite a bit more space, I understand, than you had in College Park.
Yeah.
And it's prime location because I understand like one of the main focuses is really being inclusive, being art focused. And I know, Stardust really has that mindset as well. It's for everybody. You kind of see every age group, every background. And so it being inclusive is kind of the culture of this neighborhood and the area. So
absolutely,
it seems like a perfect fit.
It feels good to be in the space, and it just feels like the right place for us right now, for sure.
Yeah, I bet. And so you were open, obviously, during the pandemic. So that must have been a whole set of challenges, right?
Yes.
What was that like?
It was definitely challenging. We actually signed a lease on a small salon studio suite thing on March 5th of 2020.
Wow.
And obviously I had to shut it down immediately. But we got through the lockdown, and it kind of slowed down the process for the permitting for our space in College Park, because the permitting office was closed for months, and they were working from home. So any conversation went from a quick phone call or a drop-in to several email exchanges that could take days. But, we got there, we persevered, and the College Park space was perfect in the beginning. I got my first employee, Allison, started with me in June or July of 2020. She and I had met at a pop-up I was doing, and she told me she was interested in doing nails. I said, if you get your license, you can come work for me and we can kind of figure it out together. Mm-hmm. And she did. And she's been with me ever since.
Wow.
But she finished nail school in March of 2020 also. So for both of us, it was kind of like, well, I guess we'll just hang out until something happens.
Until further notice,
yeah.
Until the world opens up again, right?
And I'm so thankful that she stuck with me, because she's still with me and she's been with me ever since. And she's my work wife and my bestie. And I honestly don't know how I would have survived these couple years without her.
It's crucial, isn't it?
Yeah.
That partnership. And so you were kind of going into this alone in a way. Is that right?
Oh, yes. 100% alone. My professional background prior to this was in kind of like business development. I worked as a freelance consultant specifically for small creative business. And after doing that for several years, decided I wanted something of my own. Mm-hmm. And I came to the beauty industry. I grew up in the beauty industry. My mom was a cosmetologist. It's somewhere I feel comfortable. But my mom actually discouraged me from going into the industry because it historically has some toxic traits to it. But I really think that there is room for the beauty industry to be a place where you learn more about yourself and what makes you feel beautiful and then what makes you feel good. So whatever feels good to someone is what's going to make them feel the most beautiful. And that's part of what we want to do at Pinkie, is to give people a place to explore what makes them feel like the most beautiful version of themselves.
I love that. That's so cool. What a great mission in mind. And I'm sure that from your mom's experience, you took a lot of lessons learned, right?
Absolutely.
Of just how to avoid those toxic behaviors and traits and atmosphere and things like that. And hiring obviously has a lot to do with it, like who is staffed there, what the focus is, being art focused and being very customer service focused. I have some friends that are clients, and they say the best things about your salon. Aww. And it's just it's so exciting to have that addition, and that, you know, the atmosphere seems just very young and positive. And I mean, it's for everybody, I guess, all ages really. I say young, but that's kind of the idea, is just being fully inclusive, right?
Yeah. Our client age range is vast. Because for, nails and things like that, we run the whole spectrum of age, gender, identity, everything like that. Cosmetic tattooing, though, does pull in specifically an older crowd because it gives the ability to regain some youthful qualities.
Sure. And tell me about, for the uninitiated, cosmetic tattooing. Tell me about that.
So cosmetic tattooing is also called permanent makeup, but that can be deceiving because it's not permanent. Nothing that we do in the studio is a forever tattoo on your face. It's all semi-permanent, meaning the technology has advanced at this point to where it's going to fade out over a couple years, which is really what you want. Because your face changes and trends change. You don't necessarily want something permanent. If the trends change in 5 years and you decide that you don't like it anymore, you don't want to be stuck with it forever.
Yeah.
So it's a semi-permanent tattoo on your face that can replicate eyebrows. We do lip blush, which is color on the lips. We do eyeliner. We do freckles.
The technology seems to have come a really long way, because I remember seeing kind of the first eyebrow tattoos, and it's not that, right?
No, it's not that anymore at all.
That's good to know. That microblading specifically, it really kind of follows that line of what an eyebrow would look like.
Absolutely.
Right?
We are imitating hair strokes when we do the microblading. We also have options of other types of cosmetic tattooing for brows that imitate a more made-up looking brow with makeup. But specifically myself, I specialize in microblading, yeah.
And is it true that eyebrows kind of don't grow back, or is that not across the board?
It's not necessarily across the board. I have clients of all ages, ethnicities, and it's a pretty common factor that as you age, the hair in your eyebrow just either thins or lightens and kind of starts to disappear. But that doesn't mean it will never come back. There are a lot of women specifically that in the 90s, I blame Drew Barrymore, plucked them to tiny little thin lines. And sometimes it never grows back. Sometimes it grows back, but the hair is so light that you can't see it at all. So we work with all kinds of people who have dealt with various histories and can help fix up what they got going on.
Yeah, it's super important just for you to feel comfortable, and that's something that somebody might feel self-conscious about, and that there is like a really good solution. And
absolutely.
Yeah, and as you said, you can change it. So if the style changes, or if it's not your favorite, like
absolutely.
What is the timeline? Is it like a few years that the tattoo lasts then?
Yeah, it's typically about 3 to 5 years.
Okay.
We recommend that our clients come back annually to just keep them fresh, but if you're done with them, they'll be gone in 3 to 5 years.
That's amazing. Yeah, what a cool thing to have in the neighborhood. For a while, we had a lot of hair salons, and it's interesting to see how that has sort of changed over time. It's in the Lovely's space, there was a hair salon, and in the space just next to you was also a hair salon for a while. There was a traditional like beauty parlor that was in like the same plaza as Park Ave CDs back in the day. So I'm not sure exactly which space it was, but it was the whole like, curlers and all of that, like what you think of with
Very
the traditional.
cool.
So do you call, is Pinkie it is a salon or is it a beauty parlor?
We call it a beauty studio.
Beauty studio. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is, right?
Well, we do all kinds of stuff, and salon can be a little misleading or concerning to some people.
Often people immediately go to hairstyling, right?
Yes. Or if someone tells their friend, oh, I got my eyebrows microbladed at a nail salon, their friend's response is, why did you do that?
Oh,
Are you
that's
crazy?
interesting. Yeah.
So, but that's not really we're just a little different than that when you come inside.
Yeah. And you're kind of redefining like what the business model is too, right? Is there any other shop that has kind of the mix of things that you have in the area?
Not that I'm aware of.
That's excellent.
Yeah.
It's good to differentiate and be unique, isn't it?
It's fun. And
Yeah.
I happen to be like a serial course taker. I learn something and then I want to learn something new. I get bored and I'm like, what else can I learn? And so it's great as long as I stick in a certain realm, I can kind of keep it all under the same roof.
Yeah, that makes sense. You can branch out.
Yeah.
And another service that you provide is bejeweling teeth.
Tooth gems, yep.
Tooth gem. Sorry, I knew I was going to say that wrong. I
No,
had it
you're
in my
totally
notes.
Fine.
But you could call it bejeweling teeth,
You
right?
absolutely could. We
Okay.
bedazzle your whole mouth.
So tell me about that. How does that work?
We do both like Swarovski grade crystals and 18 karat gold charms that we adhere to the teeth with dental adhesive. Everything that we use is dental grade, and I really go above and beyond to make sure it is above board. I am not interested in putting anything in your mouth that could harm you at all.
Yes.
Yeah, so we offer a variety of crystals, and then for the gold, because it is 18 karat, it's hand pressed by a gold dealer out in California. I keep a couple different things on hand, but for the most part, I encourage people to reach out because we can custom order just about anything.
Nice.
But those are a little bit of a higher price point, and so we stick to custom orders usually for the gold.
And is teeth gemming, is that a newer kind of technology or style, or has that been around for a while?
Well, yes and no.
Okay.
I learned how to do the tooth gems from a lady in Atlanta named Lorena Tolman. She's incredible, super, super talented, and focused on all things in the mouth. The history that she gave me on tooth gems is that the earliest dated decoration on teeth could be found in Mexico, where they would, even drill into the teeth and inlay stones or precious metals. We don't do anything like that. No drills or pain involved.
That's good to hear.
Yep. But it was definitely brought back into popular culture in the urban communities, and it has continued to grow and just really hold a presence recently.
Yeah. And is that permanent or semi-permanent?
Semi-permanent.
Okay.
It's just like it's basically the same kind of things used to adhere braces to your teeth.
Okay.
So they can last for a couple weeks. They can last for a couple months. I redid a tooth gem today for a client that had hers done almost a year ago to the date. And
Wow.
then she said it fell out last week. And so we cleaned up that spot and gave her a new one, and she was very excited about it.
That's awesome. And so people probably when they're chewing or something, they find that it will come out at some point, so they just kind of have to be careful with that.
Yeah, I mean, they can pop off really. I always tell people it's like braces.
Yeah.
If you're eating a lot of like chewy foods or like ripping meet with your teeth. They might fall off a little bit sooner. I'm a huge wings girl, and I've got 4 on my bottom row right now. And I've had those in for, I don't know, probably 6-8 months at this point.
Wow.
One of my favorite stories, though, is a client who called me the day after she got her tooth gem put in. And I really appreciated her honesty because she said, I was an idiot last night. I was at the bar with friends and showing off, and I tried to open a bottle with my mouth.
Oh, my God. Wow.
So hers lasted for about 6 hours.
Wow.
Not recommended.
Not at all. I remember there was like I think a Dr. Seuss book that said something about not opening bottles with your teeth.
Yeah.
And I always took that to heart, that was like important advice that stuck with me forever. Also, it just kind of freaks me out because there's a lot that could happen.
Yeah.
But, I mean,
I'm very cautious around people's mouths because I was the kid that was in the dentist or the orthodontist office like every single week. So I've had so much done to my own mouth that I don't necessarily want to inflict pain on others.
yes. See, that's another one of those kind of lessons learned from experience that you take extra care because you know what it's like to need dental work and be in there, and you want everything to go like as well as possible.
Absolutely.
And no opening bottles with your teeth.
No.
That's good that she was honest with you at least, though.
I appreciated that so much. She's such a wonderful person.
Good for her. And what a talent, too, to be able to do that.
I mean, awesome.
Yeah. And sometimes people need to see it to believe it. So, I can see, I guess, needing to prove that once it's brought up.
Absolutely.
Wow. I'd like to see that, but...
Not with tooth gems in the mouth.
Not with tooth gems.
We'll start without that.
Totally. And so, as far as nails go, Gel X is kind of the technology that you use. Tell me about that.
Yes, we specialize in Gel X, which is it's a brand of a newer technology. It's a gel nail that is fully formed before we put it on your nail. It's similar to a fancy press-on. It has the length and strength that you would get from like an acrylic or a dip nail. And so it can really give you whatever look you want, just with a different base. It's not a traditional gel. When you think of gelatin, it's vegan and cruelty-free. And it lasts for... we say it absolutely should last for 2 weeks. Most of our clients go between 3 and 5 weeks between appointments. And we do, natural nails as well. But everything we do in the studio is gel-based.
That's so cool. And I loved something that I saw on your website that said, treat your nails like jewels, not like tools.
Yeah.
So that kind of goes for bottle opening as well, right? Or,
mouth too.
And so I was very curious. Some of the things that you were saying, essentially that a trip to the salon should never be a frustrating experience. What are some of the things that you try to avoid to make sure that the customers receive that?
The number one thing is we never tell someone that their ideas or opinions are bad or ugly. The stories that I've heard and that I've experienced just as a woman who has spent a lot of time in the beauty industry, you'll go and say, oh, I think I'd like this. And someone will say, no, you don't want that. That's ugly. Or no, that's not for you. You don't want that.
Yeah.
In my opinion, it's your body. Right. If you want to, I did possum nails on someone once, it's whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
I don't take them home with me.
Sure.
So we always make sure that people have a free space to explain to us what they want. We work really hard to collaborate so that we understand what the person wants, and we also strive to be really honest. If it's something that we're not comfortable with, skill-wise, or that we don't have the technology to do, there's a couple really popular nail trends that are done with acrylic or types of product that we don't use. And so we're just really upfront about that. Like, we don't have that. We don't use that because I don't want to tell someone, oh, sure, we can do that. And then give them something totally different and like pull one over on them. We don't want to just take your money and give you whatever.
You can't do it all, right?
No, and that's okay with us. Everyone has hands and there's a million places you can go. And so if there's something that you want that we're not able to do, that's okay. We do a really good job at what we do. So we always feel pretty comfortable telling people like, well, that's not really in my wheelhouse. So let's figure out a way to give you a look that is similar to what you're going for, but that I can execute well also.
Yeah.
We're also really big on client education. There can be a lot of gatekeeping in the beauty industry, and we are happy to share with our clients what we're doing and how we're doing it. We'll have people come from out of town or just come to Pinkie for the first time, and we'll say, okay, well, what's on your nails right now? And they say, I don't know. They didn't tell me. So we always want to make sure that you understand what we're doing and why we're doing it. Because again, if someone takes that information and then goes and does their own nails at home, good for them. We're not trying to keep all the everything for ourselves. It's fine for people to learn how to do things for themselves. I know how to do my own nails, but I love having someone else do them. It's like a luxury. It feels great. So we're happy to explain to people what's going on, so that they not only feel good about what's being done to them, but so that they can speak to it. One of my regular clients spent the last month in Virginia with family, and she knew what she wanted when she went to another salon. She was able to ask them for exactly what she wanted and speak industry terms so that they could understand what she needed, because we're able to give her those tools.
Wow. I love that. Yeah. Those aren't things that you would necessarily think about, right? Because you just sometimes go to a place and expect, well, they're the experts, so I'm going to tell them maybe roundabout what I want. And then they're the artists, so I'm going to let them have, basically do what their preference is, right? And a lot of times I definitely have heard stories of salons being that way. I mean, especially with hair and things like that. I mean, there's a lot of preference, there's a lot of judgment. And, when you're an artist, you want to be proud of your work, obviously. But I think that also just knowing that you're giving the customer exactly what they want. And so you can be proud of that because they're going to feel good about it, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
They came for something specific and they got it. And also they know what it is and how to care for it. And I noticed on your website, you have kind of the pre-care and post-care information just laid out very clearly, like what to expect. And especially for, is it the stick and poke tattoos?
Yeah.
Tell me about those a little bit.
So stick and poke tattooing is just tattooing without the machine. And we tend to focus on smaller size and dainty style. And it's a lot of fun, and it's a great expression of yourself. But it's different than what people are used to when they think of a tattoo. So we like to give a little more information on it when we can. Yeah,
that makes a lot of sense. And I know a couple people that have stick and poke tattoos, and they're really cool looking. Just the lines. I mean, it's a very manual process, right? You're not using a machine, so essentially it's just like a needle, and you're kind of dipping, and poking. It's sort of the old traditional way of doing a tattoo, right?
Yeah, and there's a lot of different things that you can do with it. You can make a tattoo that looks exactly like a machine-made one. It's just a little bit of a slower process. We're really big into, especially with cosmetic tattooing, the stick and poke, even with nails and things like that, making sure that we have a good consensual understanding of what the client wants. Because especially when it's a permanent thing or a semi-permanent thing that they have to deal with for several years, we don't want to take artistic license. We want to make sure that they feel comfortable and prepared for exactly what they're leaving with.
That makes a lot of sense. So it's basically, if somebody comes in with a design in mind, they can essentially get whichever tattoo they want, or are there kind of set ones to choose from?
No, we do lots of custom work. Caitlin is our most experienced hand poke artist. She started with Pinkie a little over a year ago, and she had been doing it on her own just for fun for a few years and came to me and said, I'm interested in kind of taking this a little more seriously and professionally. And it's funny with both Caitlin and Allison, and a few other of our artists, I basically said to them, like, if you're willing to take a chance on me, I'm willing to take a chance on you. Mm-hmm. This is my first business. We're definitely not the most organized, but we've been able to do some really cool stuff by working together and figuring it out.
Yeah. It definitely seems, at least from the perspective of the online presence, like you've got great social media. I know you can book appointments through Instagram, and just the information that you have on your website, it definitely seems like you are very customer focused, and you've listened to kind of what information they need to go about, having the best experience possible. Yeah.
I've had a few experiences in the past. I'm sure a lot of people have experienced this, where you go to a new place and you might not know the lingo or how they do things, mm-hmm. and they kind of make you feel stupid or like, what are you even doing here if you don't like know how to whatever?
Yeah.
And that's always been a goal of mine, to make sure that you can walk in the door and it's your first time ever getting your nails done or whatever. Mm-hmm. And we can help you figure out the terminology that you need, the service that you need, what works for you and what doesn't. I never want someone to come into Pinkie and feel intimidated or like, well, I can't do that because I've never done it before, or I don't know what I'm doing. So that's something that I wanted to work really hard on, was to make sure that it was a space where people felt safe asking questions and exploring things, and also didn't fear feeling stupid for mm-hmm. not knowing exactly how everything works.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And it changes the experience that somebody has when they come in for the first time too, right? So do you get quite a bit of like out-of-towners coming in for appointments?
We get a fair amount. We have a lot of people that bring family and friends in from out of town for cosmetic tattooing. People will travel to some extent for that. I've got clients that come from Tampa or Atlanta. And, because we try to have a good social media presence, we have had people that have come into town for whatever reason, and we're like, oh, well, I saw you guys and wanted to stop in. So that's always really exciting for me too.
Yeah. Yeah. I like just the photos on social media. It can give a lot of new ideas for people that might want to try something new, but they're not sure exactly what. And I think that that's really helpful, just to have all of that out there. And it's so important for a small business too, because there is so much room for creativity. And some of the designs on nails are incredible. The level of detail, and, as you were saying, the possum, I didn't see those. I'll have to look those up. Are those online by chance?
I think so.
They should be. I hope so.
I hope so too. Things can get a little lost in the mix. I have an embarrassing amount of photos on my phone because I'm taking multiple pictures of every client every day. So
That's
things
great.
definitely slip through the cracks.
Yes. Well, I'll message you if I can't find them.
Yeah, I'll pull it for sure.
Okay, cool. And I understand you have some retail in the shop as well, some jewelry. Tell me about that.
Right now we have a pop-up going through the end of next month. Her name is Carla Poma, and she's a local jewelry designer. Makes a lot of different things and also does permanent jewelry. So I've got a couple of the bracelets on, and she can do bracelets, anklets, necklaces, and they solder them onto you so that they are on permanently.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. We have a space in the front of the store that we weren't using and we weren't sure what to do with. And so we had a couple different pop-ups come in and out. And I've known Carla from doing markets and, like the market circuits for years. Mm-hmm. And I remember her telling me, we were at the Owl's Attic at a market. I was doing tooth gems. She was doing jewelry. And she said, I'm thinking about getting a machine and doing those permanent bracelets. And I was like, oh my God, I'm about to open a studio. Like, if you do, you've got to come and do them at my studio. And she's like, that'd be amazing. And it took 2 years for me to get her in there because she became so popular. And I was like, Carla, you told me you would do this. Get in here.
Isn't that the way, though?
Yeah,
You know?
that I'm so happy for her. She's doing incredible things. So she'll be with us for another few weeks. And then we've got some exciting things in the works too coming up for after that.
That's so cool. And to have like kind of a rotating selection of things in there.
Yeah.
That's really nice. It kind of keeps it fresh and yeah, always something new, right? So are there other services that you're looking to provide in the future that you have not added yet?
Yes. So on top of what we've talked about, we also do like lash extensions. And then we do like waxing and tinting and all that kind of stuff as well that you think of when you think of lashes and eyebrows. We really want to add pedicures. We get the question multiple times a week. Do you do pedicures? At the moment, we don't, because we don't have the space for it. We have that space up front that's been rotating retail, but in order to do pedicures correctly, it's going to take a build out and a lot of different moving pieces. I'm not interested in just having someone sit in a chair and throwing a bowl on the floor. There's a million pedicure places.
Yeah.
When I get a pedicure, I want a massage chair. Like I want the whole experience. And I can't provide that currently. So I don't want to half-ass it.
Yeah. That's so
But
nice.
we would love to have that in the future. So that's a plan, but it's a down the road plan.
Yeah.
And I mean, right now we're really focusing on growing into our new space because our studio in College Park had 2 nail tables and 1 bed that we used for the cosmetic tattooing and for the lashes and brows and things like that. Our new space has 4 nail tables and 4 beds. And so our team has more than doubled in the last year. And we're really focusing on getting our names out there and letting people know that we're in the neighborhood now to grow to fit the size of the space that we've moved into.
That's so exciting. So how many artists do you have there currently?
12, I believe.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah, it's so funny because before when Tiffany was there doing microblading, it was kind of by appointment only, and you didn't really, I don't think she really advertised. It was kind of a very specific thing, right? And then the salon just opened up, and it was like, wow, there are so many people doing stuff in here now, and it's like...
Yeah, Tiffany's has, like, she and I have been best friends for, I don't know, her daughter and my daughter are the same age. And so they've grown up together.
Yeah.
And, she and I laugh about it because we have very different vibes. And she did such incredible things with Revel. She taught me how to do microblading. And I'm just so fortunate that I was in a space where I could take that over when it didn't serve her any longer, and that we could, I brought her employees onto the Pinkie team, and I'm just so thankful that we were able to make that work.
Wow. Yeah, that's amazing when, I don't know, when you can learn from a friend and then sort of inherit this space, right? Where it's just like, she's already started it off and it's already kind of going in a really good direction, and you've expanded it so much and you're just like maximizing the use of the space, because it's a very big shop, right?
It is, yeah.
And so it gives kind of opportunity for growth and for different things. And so you're open 7 days a week, I understand.
Yes, 7 days a week. Weekdays, it's 10 to 7, and weekends is noon to 6, I think.
Mm-hmm. And you're by appointment only? You don't really do walk-ins, or it depends?
It depends.
Okay.
We would love to offer walk-ins when we can. A lot of the time we are booked up in advance. And so if we don't have an artist available to take a walk-in, obviously we can't do that. But as we are getting things more structured and more artists coming in, we're really hoping to be able to accommodate more of the walk-ins.
Yeah, that's great. And I understand too that you will post on Instagram when you have like an appointment open, just like that day, and it's like first come, first serve, right?
Well, we encourage people, we'll post on our social, so on our Facebook and our Instagram every morning, the openings for the day. And we encourage people to text us.
Cool.
We have a receptionist on the weekends, but we don't have one on the weekdays yet. We take turns answering the phones. And so we always say text is the best way to get a hold of us, because if we're all actively with a client, we can't necessarily answer the phone, but it's way easier to look down and see, oh, someone wants to know if they can have the 2 p.m. Then I can shout, hey, can you take the 2 p.m.? And they'll say, yeah, and I'll just text it back really quick,
Yeah.
So our number one preferred method of communication is text.
That's perfect. Yeah.
We do our best to get back to people as fast as we can.
Sure. Yeah. These things are so organic too, right? When you have a small business, it's like you can make or change the culture and these things, these logistics of it, and just making everything work. But I think just being so customer focused, you retain a lot of your clients that way, right? Mm-hmm. It's really what it's all about. It's about that relationship and feeling connected to something, and just having this like very inviting atmosphere where you know that you're not going to be judged, and you do feel beautiful when you walk out of there. Like that's the goal, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
What a great goal.
We want to be, a highlight of your day to where we make you feel good and we have a good time together. Mm-hmm. We get to know our clients pretty well, and so they can come in and say, I've had a bad day, I don't want to talk. And that's just fine. They can put their headphones in. We have clients that we are so excited to see them. We're like, okay, what's the tea? I know you've been X, Y, or Z, spill. So we really enjoy getting to know people. And honestly, it's just such a fun thing to do for a living. It's like you get to hang out with people that you get to know and you love, and you get to make cool stuff together and contribute something fun to someone's day.
Yeah, it's art, it's living art, right? It's like wearable. It becomes part of you, right? And it's like part of a person's identity, and they feel connected to the salon in that way, right?
Yeah.
Or the studio, rather.
The studio, yeah.
Yeah.
I like to make the joke that I made a career out of a coping mechanism, because I would always fidget with my nails when I was a kid and was like stressed out about stuff. Mm-hmm. And I've always enjoyed doing art, but as a person with anxiety, I struggle with knowing when to be done with art, like when is it finished?
Yeah.
And so if I'm making something on my own, it can actually really stress me out. But if someone says, hey, I want some modern minimalism in different shades of blue, like that gives me such a fun project to do where I have very clear boundaries and I can make it happen, and it doesn't add stress to my day, and it makes someone else feel great, and it really just feels like a win-win.
Yeah. And I think, when you are artistically inclined, you have to have an outlet, right? And I think that sometimes it can be a challenge, because the art that we choose, if it is like the thing that we do for a living, we might get burnt out, or it might not be as like magical. It might not be that like release that you need. But I think that if you're doing it right, you can find that balance to where it's still very rewarding, and it's still that artistic outlet, and also people appreciate it so much too, right?
And I will have to say that one of the most rewarding things for me in the past 2 years or 3 years or whatever it's been now has been to see the people that have trusted me and come to work for me grow as artists and grow professionally. That has been so incredible for me to not only know that they trust me to come and work at Pinkie, but to watch them make connections with clients and to get excited when their books are full. And the art they create is insane. When the things they send me and the pictures that I see, I'm just like, my brain can't even fathom how you did that. That's so incredible that you managed to do that in such a short period of time.
Wow.
I just feel really, really lucky.
That is awesome. That's such an inspiring story too, to be able to, not only share your art, but grow your friends' artistic abilities and their outlet and their customer base. And, it's just the way that with what Tiffany did with you of teaching you microblading and passing that on. So now that's like your journey to continue.
Yeah. I think that there is such a unique space to do something that you enjoy, that fulfills you creatively, and that can also provide you with a feasible living And it feels like I've been given such a gift to offer that to other people.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I think that beauty standards in the traditional sense of, what the public sort of views has changed quite a bit too, right? It's opened up just in a lot of ways. Like there's not, it used to be, I think growing up, that it was like, there was kind of one way to be like handsome or beautiful. And like, it really has expanded now, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so what are some of the ways that, since you've been in the industry, has that sort of changed for you? Has there been ways where you've been like, oh, that is like, I see the beauty in that now?
I don't know if there's anything that has changed specifically since I started in the industry. I've always kind of been more of a weirdo when it comes to this kind of stuff. And I think it's been more of just finding my people and people who also like to explore and try new things. And it's been exciting for me to not feel alone in that and to find a community of people who also like to try new things and don't mind being perceived as different. And I think for me, that's been really fun to experience. I always like to say, too, that we always want to see more guys in the studio. We definitely have guys that come and get different services done. But this is a better answer to your question.
Okay.
I have specifically loved watching like Gen Z dudes get really into nail polish.
Yeah.
I've really, really enjoyed that. And like I do my boyfriend's nails, and we have guys that come in occasionally. But why wouldn't you want to take care of your hands and make them fun? So for me, that's really exciting that that's becoming more normal for everyone.
Yes.
And I hope to see more of it at Pinkie.
Yeah, I mean that is such a fun way to express yourself, right? And why not adorn your hands, because they're just right there, you know, to be seen all the time. And it's like, I think tattoos have kind of changed in that way too, that, our parents sort of saw tattoos in a certain light, and now everybody has tattoos, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, it's not for just the fringe or, sailors. So it's a marker of time. It's self-expression. It's individuality, just all of the things that, you only get one body, right?
Yeah.
So decorate it.
Yeah. You're not going to take it with you. So have some fun.
Yeah. Yeah. I just recently got my first tattoo.
Very cool.
Yeah. So I'm very excited. It was on New Year's, and
that's very recent.
It was very recent. My friend Jerry was doing a little pop-up, and so my wife and I got matching tattoos.
I love that.
Yeah. And it's like my favorite thing right now.
Is that Jerry Buttgerk?
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed, yes.
I've got a couple by him too. I love him.
He's the best.
He's great.
Yeah, we've known him. Actually, my wife and I were like hanging out with him. He was like in the friend group back in the day when we met. So, so he's near and dear to our hearts. And
he's a good one for sure.
He really is, and so talented. Mm-hmm. So I wonder if he'll do maybe a pop-up at your studio.
We love, we just had our first guest artist recently, and that was super exciting for us.
Tell me about that.
Her name is Sky. She, I guess, grew up in Orlando, but now lives in LA and tattoos out there. And when she came home for the holidays, she just reached out and was like, hey, I'm going to be in town for a few weeks. Mm-hmm. Would you be open to having a guest artist? I was like, yeah.
Wow.
10 out of 10, absolutely.
That's so cool. Uh-huh. So there might be opportunity for other guest artists there as well.
Absolutely, yeah.
All right. So they can reach out to you and schedule that perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
That's very cool. And I understand you have a special event coming up.
Yes, we do. We have artist and illustrator Gemma Carell coming to Pinkie. I have followed Gemma on social media for years. I think everyone would probably recognize her work. And her manager recently moved to Orlando, happened into Pinkie for a manicure, and we got talking about it. And And now we've got Gemma coming to studio. Gemma is originally from the UK, now lives in California, and she has made some special Florida-based art for the event. You can come meet the artist, get her work, get something signed, and then we're also going to be doing flash tattoos and nail art of Gemma's work that day too. We're very excited about it.
Wow. So what are the hours that day so people know?
It's Sunday, February 5th from noon to 3 p.m. at Pinkie, Orlando.
Excellent. And do you know where people can find Gemma's art online?
Everywhere.
Just Google it and you'll see
yes.
it. Okay.
So she's Gemma Carell on all social media. I mean, but you can find Gemma Carell goods like in Target or pretty much like any little gift store that you go to. The thing you will recognize from her is either the pug drawings or the existential dread drawings.
I think I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yep.
Oh, that's so cool. And so that's February 5th. Mm-hmm. Okay, good to know. All right, so everybody mark your calendar.
Yes, we're very excited.
Well, I think we kind of covered it. I did see you had a gender affirming makeup class in the studio. Tell me about that.
So one of our lovely folks that works for us is part of a group out at UCF that helps queer and non-conforming kids that don't necessarily have a community or a safe space to find gender-affirming clothing or health and beauty needs that they have. And so they were doing a clothing drive and just let us know, hey, we're trying to get clothes for these kids at UCF. And I said, I think that's really, really cool. Is there anything else that we can do to like be a part of this? Because it fits so well with what my vision of Pinkie is to help people learn what feels good to them. And they asked me if they could use the space for a gender affirming makeup class. And so a bunch of the girls volunteered their time, and we talked about basic skincare, nail care, how to speak when you go into a salon, how to ask for what you want. We talked about consent with tattooing, all kinds of things like that, which was so great. And I really enjoyed being able to have a space for people who are still exploring what feels good to them to come and learn some stuff about that.
Yeah. Yeah, I love to hear that so much, because it's rare for a business to reach out in that way, right? Yeah.
It's such an easy thing for us to do. Why wouldn't we if we have the opportunity?
Yeah, that's such a good point. Yeah, I love that philosophy. You have this way of making it sound so simple as it should be, right?
Yeah.
It's like, I think that we overthink things sometimes, and we don't really need to. It's just about love and inclusion and connection, right?
Yeah. And one piece of opposition that I've, or I guess criticism I've received in the past while doing businessy things is that I can be a little too, personal or messy or political. But that's one of the beautiful things about the beauty industry is you can find a beauty studio everywhere, on every corner. And so if what we do at Pinkie doesn't make you feel good, you don't have to come to us because there's so many places to go. And I think can be a space for everyone. And I really like being a space for people who may not feel like they fit in the other ones.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's such a good point too. Yeah. Well, you picked the perfect neighborhood.
I feel that way too. I'm so happy to be here.
What are some things about Audubon Park that you love? What are some of your favorite spots here? Or
oh my gosh, so everything.
Right?
Yep. I used to do macrame. I taught macrame, and I sold at markets and things like that. And Brittany and Augie at the Owl's Attic were so amazing. They helped me do workshops in their studio. The macrame curtains they have in their windows, I made those.
Oh, wow.
So I've always loved just seeing them and being able to feel welcomed in their space. I love food. So this is
Same.
it's a great neighborhood to be in. Also
is.
a bit problematic.
It is
when
problematic, yeah.
You're not trying to like spend all the money every day, but it's just so easy to, like put your order in at Farm and House and then walk down the street and pick it up. There are so many businesses in Audubon. The fact that the Salty's right there now, every time someone walks in the door and has a box from the Salty, I simultaneously love them and want them to just turn around and leave because I have such a terrible sweet tooth. I have no control at all whatsoever. So whenever people bring any sort of neighborhood sweets to us, I will eat them all up.
The Salty's donuts are pretty insane. I mean, they're wonderful. How could you say no, right?
Yeah.
But it's a commitment also. So
Oh, yeah.
it's like you know what you're signing up for.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah. And I think this neighborhood is so great because it's so familiar. There's so many options, but you know people from just being around and seeing different things. I used to work with porch therapy, and so I spent a lot of time at East End Market, and it was fun to get to know the people there and see things grow and change and people move to bigger spaces. So I always think East End Market has been such an incredible spot in the neighborhood to, be like an incubator for small business. I truly tell people all the time they will have to drag my cold, dead body out of the location Pinkie's in right now because you cannot get me out of there.
Yeah. And I've met Dean, the building owner, and he's a wonderful man.
Yeah, he's great.
So, and you have nice neighbors. I haven't met any of the folks at the IV shop, but that seems more like a chain in a way or something. Is it perhaps?
I've been there.
Okay.
I did a lot of traveling for work, which as someone who doesn't tend to travel all that much, I back-to-back did a bunch of trips in the fall for work specifically. And so I was home for like 36 hours and I went and got an IV done because I was just like, someone please give me vitamins and hydrate me. It was great.
Was it? It made you feel better and it revived you?
It absolutely made me feel hydrated and alive.
That's great to know. Huh. And they're right there next door. So yeah, everything that you could need is in this neighborhood, I feel like, right?
No complaints at all.
It's the best. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's why I'm doing this podcast because people should know what's here and support the small businesses. And it's what makes living here so great.
Absolutely.
And you live in College Park, is that right?
I do.
So you're just
Stone's
adjacent.
throw away.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's perfect too. Well, Sara, again, so nice to meet you. So nice talking to you. And we'll see you around.
Sounds good.
All right. Hello, APGD. A neighborhood podcast is brought to you in part by Stardust Video and Coffee, Audubon Park's beloved neighborhood cafe, bakery, bar, and meeting place, located at 1842 East Winter Park Road. We're also sponsored by Red Light Brew Pub. Founded in 2005, Red Light is widely known as the source for world-class imports and microbrews. A wide selection of natural wines, plus award-winning beers brewed in-house. A full kitchen is in the works with an amazing menu by Chef Jess Tantalo. Located at 2810 Corinne Drive, please check out Red Light for all things beer and wine and soon food. Our theme song is by Christopher Pierce, and special thanks to Trey Hester for all of his help in making this podcast a reality. We do hope you enjoyed this episode. If so, please click subscribe and leave a review if you'd like. We'll see you next time.